So here we are in beautiful Lee Canyon, taking my son so he can learn how to snowboard. I'm telling you, they're crowded, the economy's doing well. I got great information about what we're doing and how things are going. So stick around to see why I think the economy is going to continue to boom. Good morning. My name is Adam Kahn, and I'm the Rational Investor. Today is Saturday, February 3rd. I hope you're all doing well, enjoying the day. Beautiful day up here in Lee Canyon in Nevada. Small little ski slope where my son can learn how to snowboard, and it's super exciting. It's nice. Got tons of people around, all coming out, and it's a really small place. So really, that's a lot of people. So I'm excited to see it and glad to check it out. Now, before I get into the reasons why I see things as booming again, do me a favor if you haven't already and hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate the help. Smash that like button. Helps YouTube's algorithm and other people find the channel. So if you guys are enjoying the content, I really appreciate that. Before I get into the economy, remember, none of this is financial advice. I'm just a guy on YouTube sharing information that I think is helpful to me over the years. You guys need to make your own decisions when making your own financial choices and do your own research. So don't take my advice. You guys need to do what you need to do. So one of the things I'm looking at is how non-farm payrolls came out almost double or even more than double what the expected number was. It's a sign of a strong economy. GDP is booming as well. While the inflation hasn't gotten to the Fed's 2% number, it's come down quite a bit. And to me, some inflation, strong GDP, strong jobs is what's called a great economy. There's no reason I don't see corporate profits continuing to go up. And while a lot of people get up and talk about corporate greed and everything else, really the goal of these companies is to be profitable. So I wouldn't give them a hard time for doing well at their job. And if inflation is being sticky and coming along still and not coming down as quick as the Fed wants, the reality is that gives them pricing power to continue to raise prices and increase margins. So even if we do slow down, which I'll point to some things that make me a little bit nervous, but even if we legitimately slow down, the margins are better and the earnings are better. So less business with better margins could continue to grow profits. And what's going to happen over the next 3, 6 months, maybe even over a year, that's going to slow down companies like Meta, who crushed it as you saw, or Amazon or Google or things like that. There's just nothing that I see that would cause reason for those companies to slow, whether that's higher inflation rates or higher Fed funds or interest rates or anything like that. Do you really think if they have to raise rates or lower rates or move the markets, that that's going to cause Facebook, or Meta as it's called now, to have worse earnings, or Amazon or Google or Nvidia? The rest of it's just background noise. I don't see it as anything real that's actually going to slow these companies down. Now, what I will say is Whirlpool came out with earnings, and one of the things they talked about is they're noticing people paying more attention to the cost of the things that they're buying. Meaning they're not going for the most expensive, best dishwasher or washing machine or whatever it is that they're buying from Whirlpool. I understand Whirlpool owns Maytag and a bunch of others as well, so it's a pretty well spread out company. And if people are backing off the high-end ones and buying the low-end ones, that's a legitimate issue that is part of the slowdown. Now, similar with UPS, their earnings weren't so great. And I think UPS is a bit of a microcosm of what's going on since they do shipping worldwide. If their earnings are falling off, that means things are slowing down. And again, I'll point to that was what the Fed wanted. They're not looking for deflation or a recession. I don't think their goal is for things to get terrible. But I don't even think we're going to have a soft landing. I think we're going to have no landing. I know nobody likes the inflation, myself included. But my God, people are adjusting, things are busy, things are fine. I really don't see house prices collapsing, and I really don't see a stock market collapse. I think the only thing that could change that is a black swan event if one of the wars really erupts into something terrible. But we've got two wars going on. We've got lots of bad or scary things with the Red Sea, and even I think I saw something about the Suez Canal and how much water is in it. So all of these things causing issues that would push inflation higher, and the markets are handling it in stride. I mean, if you look at Meta's earnings, not only did they crush it, it's kind of what I said about Nvidia when they were crushing it too. Everybody looks at the stock price and sees it go up a good bit and thinks, oh, it's overpriced. Well, look at how much money they made and do an analysis of price to earnings ratios. Sorry, I figured I'd move because that guy put on the radio. Hopefully, you don't still hear it in the background. But really, their earnings crushed it. They made $5.31 a share. Multiply that by 4 to extrapolate that hopefully they can continue that, if not better, over the next 3 quarters to get a rough idea of what a 1 year earnings would look like. And you're over $21 a share. Well, why wouldn't the stock be worth close to 500? That's not even 25 times forward earnings. That's totally reasonable for a company like Meta that's growing at the pace it's growing at. On top of that, I'll point to the election, not because I'm one of those guys that say, oh, economies are great in election years. But what I will say is if you're a company that relies on advertising dollars, such as Facebook and Instagram do, well, during an election year, you're going to get a lot more marketing dollars during that year from all the politicians and all their support groups doing campaigns on those platforms. So I picture the earnings continuing to grow throughout the year as we get closer to the election. So add that in. I think since the stock had such a big dramatic move, it'll bounce around a bit. But I think like Nvidia, once it settles down and they shake out the people that are overexcited about how high it went, I think the move is still higher. Now, again, I'll repeat what I said before. This is not financial advice. You guys need to do your own research. This is just my opinion, and I'm just some idiot on YouTube. I don't mean that sarcastically. I don't have a lot of the data that some of these big corporations do or the ability that they do to dig into the CEO and see what else is going on. This really is just my opinion, and you guys need to decide for yourself what makes sense for you. But I see these companies as doing well and growing and continuing to do better. I mean, look at Target when I was talking about it and how they were talking about needing to shut down stores and all these things that made it seem so scary. And I kept saying, well, yeah, if they're able to close non-profitable stores, they're just going to be more profitable. Well, with all that bad news, what did the stock do? It went from 106 to 145. That's what I envision when some of the other things with the bad news creates good opportunities. And again, high GDP, good employment numbers, strong data is good news. The market overreacts because what they think is that means that rates are going to stay higher for longer. I don't see anything wrong with that. When I was a kid, inflation should run around 4%. The 2% that the Fed points to, that's just a made up number and that's their goal. Maybe they get there, I understand that. But if it takes more time than they expect, and inflation stays a little bit higher and people learn to deal with that, I think that's great for the economy. High GDP and good job growth is awesome. That creates good opportunity and its ability for companies to do well. That isn't a sign of a bad crashing economy. That's a sign of a strong economy. The market reacting to rates staying higher for longer, well, to me, that's a short-term trader being, short-sighted in what the data is showing. I joked before, it's like Bizarro world from Seinfeld. Good news is bad news. Bad news is good news. The markets are always kind of like that, but in the long run, what drives the values is the earnings. And if the economy is strong and inflation is going up, that means better profit margins and better earnings, which means higher prices. Anyway, I'll repeat it again. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and look at how crowded it is. Everywhere I go, everyone's complaining about inflation, how awful things are, and people are in big trouble. But everywhere's doing business and seems okay. I don't agree with that rhetoric. I also am well aware that there's over $1 trillion in credit card debt and default rates on autos have gone up and everything else. But I don't think that's any secret. I think the big boys and all the investors are well aware of that. So get off the friggin' sidelines. What I really think is too many people have gotten into scared money and have put it into high yield savings accounts and treasuries. It's going to take them a while to get out of it and get back into the markets. That's why I'm in the markets and not in those things, is when everybody rushes into those safety things, I want to be in the things that have risk. And when everybody's rushing back into the risk, like when the stock market's just going up and up and up and up, and people are rushing in, and your doorman or the Uber driver or whoever starts talking about stocks, that's when I want to get out and get into safety. Until then, I want to stay long equities, I want to stay long the housing market, and I want to avoid the safety stuff. So what you guys decide is what you guys decide. I'm not listening to those gloom and doomers. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.